the small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country. Hey everyone, today is Bell Let's Talk Day. Let's talk to each other about our mental health and let's listen.
They are putting at risk their own kids, and they're putting at risk
our kids as well.
those people are putting us all at
Those
risk.
people.
Those people are putting us all at risk.
Yep.
Those people are putting us all at risk.
So today and every day, let's talk to each other about our mental health and let's listen to each other. If you joined the protests because you're tired of COVID, you now need to understand that you are breaking laws. After discussing with Cabinet and caucus,
Like an absolute villain out of a movie
from all provinces and
with his
territories,
sidekick
speaking
behind
with
him.
opposition leaders, the federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act. Vladimir Putin has come to believe that he can lie with impunity, that he can...
I'll stop it there because YouTube sometimes takes issue with that video, which I've shared over and over again, of Justin Trudeau's. Don't worry, people. Remember when he invoked the Emergencies Act? He said, don't worry. What this means, what this does not mean. I'm not bringing in the military. I'm just bringing in RCMP, Sudbury Police, Sûreté de Québec, Ontario Provincial Police. I'm bringing them in armored vehicles with pepper spray, with batons. But don't worry, I'm not bringing in the military. I'm just bringing in a highly militarized police. The video of them savagely abusing, beating protesters, peaceful protesters, like him or not, honking horns or not, you don't get batoned for honking horns. His non-military, militarized police physically assaulting veterans. One of them was a veteran that I interviewed during the protest. But don't worry, he didn't. When he invoked the Emergencies Act, he didn't call the police. He didn't bring in the military. He just brought in a militarized police. Good afternoon, East Coast. Good morning, West Coast. Good evening, Europe, who has now lived through another revolution. I was mulling over the news this morning as I was, looking for the white pill. And I said, this might actually be something of a white pill. The elections in Italy. Italy elected a far-right group called the Fratelli Italia, the Brotherhood or the Brothers of Italy. I want to play, like before we get into everything, we just heard, a villain. I don't want to call him evil. Has lost its edge. Evil has lost its impact for what evil means. A man who has destroyed a nation, destroyed a generation, destroyed an economy, devastated children, devastated social cohesiveness that Canada was known for. Canada now, people don't really appreciate this. We're a polite people. I don't pick fights with people who push in line at a bathroom. I'm not getting punched in the face for that. Trudeau as the figurehead, and his political ilk, Legault in Quebec, Ford in Ontario, Kenny in Alberta, I forget who it is in British Columbia, have destroyed the social fabric of Canada for years to come. We used to be community in Canada. We used to love each other. It was neighborly love in the most meaningful of senses. In the last 2.5 years, it's been turned into a world of those people are putting us all at risk. If you don't jibby-jabby your children, you're a selfish bastard that wants granny to die. Oh, what's that? Jibby-jabbing your children didn't actually protect granny? Oh, it just devastated your children? Oh. It's a Canada now where people have entered a form of tribalism that I think was largely, I'm not saying this to point a finger at the states. I mean, in American politics, there's been more tribalism for longer, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. And it's not a judgmental thing. It's not a criticism of the United States. Politics in America has always been a little more intense than the politics in Canada. There's always been that two-party system in America that tends to reflect itself in a sort of tribalism which hit the peak when Trump was elected. We never used to have that in Canada. Like, okay, fine, people hated Harper. People consider themselves liberal. It wasn't vitriolic. And now I know a lot of you are saying, well, Viva, you've contributed to that vitriol. I don't think I've contributed to that vitriol. I think that vitriol has absorbed me to some extent. That were once upon a time where I would say, your body, your choice for a great many things. I would never ask your vaccine status. Don't ask me. And whoa, now you're asking me. And whoa, now you're not getting into a car with my kid because of my kid's medical status. Yeah, maybe I've gone tribal, or maybe you've just pushed me into that corner. But it didn't used to exist in Canada. We used to be able to love our neighbors regardless of political affiliations and regardless of stances on such things as compelled vaccination, compelled lockdowns, compelled social distancing, compelled masks. But now these things have become tribal to the point where, thanks to Jagmeet Singh, thanks to Justin Trudeau, thanks to François Legault, if you say, yeah, I don't think you should be forcing masks on kids, you're a pro-Trump bigot. That's literally what I've been called in Canada by other Canadians, because I don't think you should be forcing face masks on children. Trump talking points, Fox News talking points. That level of tribalism has been imported to Canada, courtesy of Justin Trudeau. Someone says, sounds like Facebook-itis. It has been imported, I won't say only thanks to Justin Trudeau, but largely thanks to Justin Trudeau. Jagmeet Singh, round of applause. You've played a very substantial role in this. The NDP, the New Democratic Party, or the New Democrat, I forget what it is. Right-wing extremists who don't care about community, selfish because they don't want to wear face masks. Justin Trudeau. Those people are putting us all at risk. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you're an anti-science, selfish, anti-vaxxer, bigot. And I have never lost my tolerance. I am still accused of being too tolerant, too naive, not understanding the level of depravity of the political enemy. And by this, I do mean the politicians and not the people. I won't lose my tolerance. But Canada has been destroyed under Justin Trudeau. Compare Justin Trudeau and the filth, because it's filth. It's like, I feel like the guy from Anchorman. Come up with that filth, Ron Burgundy, the poo-poo mouth. Compare Justin Trudeau's filthy poo-poo mouth to what Italy has just elected. I should say to who Italy has just elected. Where is it? Because I know that I have it. Unless I shut my hold on, I shut the tweet down. Compare potty mouth, poo-poo mouth, Mick Trudeau to what politicians are supposed to be, how politicians are supposed to speak, from tenor, substance to delivery. Compare Trudeau to what a politician can be. And also bear in mind, this woman, and I'm saying woman not for ideological reasons, just because she's a woman, identity politics reasons. This woman is being described by the likes of Justin Trudeau et al. As far right. Just compare playground basketball to professional basketball. Compare me doggy paddling in a triathlon to Michael Phelps winning a gold medal in the Olympics. That's the difference. Listen to this.
Potrei farne tante altre di queste domande. A monte c'è quella che ci facciamo oggi: perché la famiglia è un nemico? Perché la famiglia fa così paura? C'è una risposta unica per tutte queste domande. Perché ci definisce, perché è la nostra identità, perché tutto quello che ci definisce in questo tempo è un nemico, per chi vorrebbe che non avessimo più un'identità e che fossimo solamente schiavi, consumatori perfetti. E allora è sotto attacco l'identità nazionale, è sotto attacco l'identità religiosa, è sotto attacco l'identità di genere, è sotto attacco l'identità familiare. Non devo potermi definire italiana, cristiana, donna, madre, no. Io devo essere cittadino X, genere X, genitore 1, genitore 2, devo essere un numero. Perché quando sarò solamente un numero, quando non avrò più un'identità, quando non avrò più radici, beh, allora sarò lo schiavo perfetto in balia della grande speculazione finanziaria, il consumatore perfetto. E questa è la ragione per la quale oggi noi facciamo tanta paura. Questa è la ragione per la quale oggi questo appuntamento fa tanta paura. Perché noi non vogliamo essere dei numeri, noi siamo qui per dire che noi non siamo dei numeri, noi difenderemo il valore della persona umana, di ogni singola persona umana, perché ognuno di noi ha un codice genetico unico e irripetibile. E questo, piaccia o no, ha del sacro. Lo difenderemo Dio, la patria e la famiglia, che fanno tanto schifo a qualcuno. Lo faremo per difendere la nostra libertà, perché noi non saremo mai schiavi e semplici consumatori in balia della speculazione finanziaria. Ecco la nostra missione, ecco perché oggi sono venuta qui. Scriveva Chesterton ormai più di un secolo fa.
Someone who knows how to cover
se ve lo trovo.
when they can't find something can do it
Fuochi
comfortably.
verranno attizzati per dimostrare che 2 più 2 fa 4. Spade verranno sguainate per dimostrare che le foglie sono verdi in estate. Quel tempo è arrivato, signori. Siamo pronti. Grazie.
Now, I don't know where this was. I don't know the context of this event. I swear to you, I'm not a sensitive person and I don't cry. I'm actually just trying to swallow. I don't cry. I don't like crying. At least I don't like crying publicly because I know that when I see people crying publicly, I generally say they should hold it in. That makes you want to cry. That makes you have faith in politicians. Sure, it's just words for now. And we'll have to see if she follows through on them. I don't know the context of that event. I don't. The video was circulating on YouTube, Twitter this morning. That's how I discovered it. Probably like a great many other people. Compare that to the poo-poo filth coming out of Justin Trudeau's mouth. It's not even night and day, because both night and day are good and serve their purpose. It's competence and eloquence versus incompetence and divisive politics to compensate and distract from the incompetence. Which brings us to our stream today, people. Oh, I was almost there. I got something in my eye, and it was which brings us to the subject matter of today's live stream. Okay. Justin Trudeau, follow the science, science spelt with dollar signs. The science has changed. As of October 1st, the science has changed. It's science, people. It has nothing to do with the results in Italy, the populist victor in Italy, the far right victor. It has nothing to do with that. You know, it has nothing to do with the people making their will known to the politicians, not just in Italy, but in Canada. Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with the Brian Peckford, the honorable Brian Peckford, a man who deserves his honorable prefix, suffix, whatever it is, prefix. A man who deserves it, unlike H-O-N Trudeau. Has nothing to do with that lawsuit. It has nothing to do with politics. It's all science. As of October 1st, no more border restrictions. They're suspended. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Italy. I'm not knowledgeable in Italian politics. I'm sitting there reading the news, and I was like, oh, far right. What does that mean? Why? What policies make? I'm gonna mess up her name every time. Hold on, let me just get it here. Giorgia Meloni. What policies make her far right? Typically, given my historical background, I should be scared of far right. I listened to Giorgia Meloni speak. I don't feel scared. I don't feel unwelcome, and I don't feel threatened. So I need to understand, and we'll try to make a little sense of it today. We're going to go through the Mike Lindell lawsuit suing the FBI. Good luck. God bless him. Good luck to him. But the fact pattern is what people need to appreciate now to understand the full state of the weaponization of everything, both in the States and in Canada. People say, hey, Viva, let me just clarify, by the way, I'm down in America right now for a few years on a visa. I'm still a Canadian citizen, and we'll see what the future holds. It was, I've announced the exclusive agreement, the exclusivity with Rumble, which I'm happy and proud to do. We are also working on their terms of service in order to ensure that Rumble is and remains a bona fide, genuine free speech platform. But all that to say, so I'm down here temporarily, and we'll see what happens in the future. People say, hey, Viva, you came down at a time of civil war. They say that tongue in cheek, but do you regret leaving Canada? People don't seem to understand, like, everything has been weaponized in Canada as well. I mean thoroughly weaponized. Frozen bank accounts if you donated to a federally registered not-for-profit. RCMP weaponizing their investigative conduct. How do you say it? Weaponizing their investigations. Canada is like, it's like a diluted America at this point. Diluted in the sense that we have 36, 38 million people, population of California. But we've got the identity politics pervasive throughout politics. We've got the division. We've got the tribalist hatred. Tim Pool watches Viva. I know Tim watches Viva, and I watched him. But we've got these problems in Canada. A weaponized political system, ideological divides between friends and family. Now, I think in the States, the Justice Department and the FBI have really perfected what Justin Trudeau really wanted during that Ottawa protest. Like, they've got it down pat in the States. But when you read Mike Lindell's lawsuit, you'll appreciate just how bad it is. All that to say also, by the way, at 30 minutes, we're going to go exclusive on Rumble. So we're going to shut this down and move on over there for anyone who is so inclined. But let's just get the big news of the day out. Hey, trust the science, people. As of what is it? Sunday, Saturday? The science changes. Why am I reading CBC? Because I want to see how Justin Trudeau's payroll employees. They're not really the employees of Justin Trudeau for fact checkers out there. They just exist off government subsidies. That was, it comes from any government, but it just happens to be coming from the Trudeau government. $1 billion a year, taxpayer dollars, to finance the flailing, crappy, government-sponsored propaganda that is the CBC and the French version, Radio-Canada. Let's see how they describe this. Oh, by the way, $1 billion subsidizing Canadian media. It's totally not Pravda. It's totally not RT. This is legit because it's Canadian. Then the $600-700 million that went to the other unsubsidized media, Global, National Post, Toronto Star, 600 and some odd million. Bailout in 2018, I think. Set that aside. So you got $1 billion for Radio-Canada CBC. You got $600+ million bailout for the other legacy media in Canada. Then you got COVID ads. Then you got government ads. Then you got indirect subsidies. But no, our media is totally independent, and RT is Russian propaganda. Okay, whatever. Parentheses closed. The big news. Border vaccine rules, mandatory use of ArriveCan, mask mandates on planes, trains, end October 1st. Not October 1st, 2021, people. October 1st, 2022. Remind me to address the American issue because, from what I understand, they still have vaccination requirements for foreign nationals entering the U.S. We'll get to that in a second. Lifting of regulations has been called for by border city mayors. Oh, that sounds like politics and not science. There was either science for the implementation of these policies or there wasn't. It's not because border city mayors clamor to end these idiotic, unconstitutional, inhumane measures that they get lifted. If they're scientifically justified, that's what matters in theory. Okay. The federal government says it's dropping. I'm pretty sure they said they're suspending, but I'll double check. All COVID-19 measures at borders on Saturday, meaning travelers will no longer need to provide proof of vaccination when entering Canada or wear masks on planes and trains. Oh, that's amazing. As of October 1st, all travels, regardless of citizenship. Oh, it's almost like when you get embarrassed enough, when you get mocked enough on the national scale, when you have some pesky little nutcase with a fro, I don't think I had anything to do with it. When you have people railing against you day in and day out, showing the lack of science and above all else, the inhumane nature of these policies, it's almost like once it becomes politically untenable, the science changes. They will no longer have to submit public health information through the ArriveCan app or website. Oh. They will no longer have to provide proof of vaccination. They are no longer numbers. They are individual human beings. Their life has meaning. Gosh darn it, if I'm quoting from Network and using the censored versions. They will no longer have to undergo pre or on-arrival testing. They will no longer have to carry COVID-19 quarantine or isolation. They will no longer have to carry out COVID-19 related quarantine. Quarantining young, healthy people who are not infected with COVID just because they weren't vaccinated. 12 years old and up. They will no longer have to monitor and report if they develop signs and symptoms upon arriving in Canada. They will no longer have to undergo health checks for travel on air and rail or wear masks on planes and trains. Read this in reverse, people. Until Sunday, or whenever October 1st is, anyone entering Canada has to submit public health information through ArriveCan app, provide proof of vaccination, undergo pre- and on-arrival testing, carry out quarantine requirements if they're not vaccinated. By the way, and if they're foreign nationals, they just can't enter Canada. Undergo health checks on travel and air. We are no longer free citizens. We are, is the word wards of the state? We are property of the state. Until October 1st, we all still have to do this. Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos said the decision Monday is not a sign Canada is out of the pandemic, but said the government's data showed the importation of new variants was no longer having an effect on the evolution of the virus in the country. That's verbal diarrhea. But no, guys, CBC's independent. They're not the mouthpiece propagandist tools of the government that funds them, $1 billion a year. They're not. But they're just repeating what Jean-Yves Duclos said. It's totally scientific. Jean-Yves Duclos, I'll play the video in a second, said Monday the decision is not a sign Canada is out of the pandemic, but said the government's data showed the importation of new variants was no longer having an effect on the evolution of the virus in the country. Can I ask you to show your homework, Monsieur Duclos? CBC, may I ask if you asked Jean-Yves Duclos to show his homework? Methinks you didn't, because you are propagandists who don't vet, check, or hold the government to account. You are their mouthpieces and their bullhorns. Let's see what this has to say here. Is this the video that I saw?
Based on the data accumulated over the last few weeks.
Show it. Show your homework. Show your homework, you liar.
And months. We are announcing that the government of Canada will not renew the order in council that expires on September the 30th and will therefore remove all COVID-19 border requirements for all travelers entering Canada.
They have been merely renewing these orders month over month. No public debate, no legislative process, no showing your homework. I think ministerial order. I think we'll just shut the border down. I think we'll require, which way is the wind blowing? I think we'll require unvaccinated 12-year-olds to quarantine when they cross the border. Just because. Science.
Includes the removal of all federal testing, quarantine, and isolation requirements, as well as the mandatory submission of health information in ArriveCan.
By the way, just notice they said they're not renewing it. They didn't say they're canceling it. They could presumably just issue another order in council with the same lack of oversight that they've been doing and renewing for the last... When did they shut the border down? It's 2 years.
Government of Canada will maintain the ability to reestablish certain border measures should they be required in the future to protect Canadians from the importation of new variants of concern or other emerging public health threats.
By the way, they reserve the right to do even more for things beyond COVID. It's a victory. By the way, how did the propagandist mouthpiece of the government describe it? Oh, they said it's dropping all COVID-19 measures. That's not what they said, CBC. Thank you for allowing me to show the video of why you guys are liars and should be defunded to the fullest extent of the legislation. They didn't say they're dropping all COVID-19 measures. They said they're not renewing the order in whatever it is, the order in council, and that they reserve the right to do it if ever they so choose in the future. Yeah, that's dropping. That's dropping. All right. You guys are not government propagandists lying, Pravda. You're not. You're free. You're free media. You deserve our taxpayer dollars. Oh, look at this. If anyone believes the pandemic is over, I invite them to visit a hospital, he said. Hospitals are going to have sick people in them. That's why they're there. There will be viruses that will put people in hospitals. That you don't shut down a border and you don't make healthy 12-year-olds quarantine if the hospital is the issue. That decision, once again, was driven by the evidence that we've seen over the last few weeks, yada, yada, which is that the transmission and cost of transmission of COVID-19 health. Okay, whatever. Let's hear what Omar Algebra has to say. Last week, a group of MPs and border city mayors published an open letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the U.S. president asking them to end the unnecessary rules at the border, a move they say would allow border communities to recover economically from the pandemic. Let's hear what Omar Algebra, Minister of Transport, has to say. I haven't seen this yet.
We've always maintained that the extraordinary measures we introduced at our borders and on airplanes, trains, and boats were temporary. And that we would adjust them as situation changes. So today, we're doing just that. As my colleague, Minister Duclos, just said, starting on October 1st, we are removing COVID-19 measures that remain at the border. The factors that allow us to remove these border measures also allow me to announce that Transport Canada is removing existing travel requirements. This means that as of October 1st, travelers will no longer be required to undergo health checks for travel.
We've always said we were going to do it. We've always said it. We always said it was temporary. My sweet, merciful goodness. Years is not temporary, first of all. And second of all, yeah, you never said they were permanent. You also said 2 weeks to flatten the curve. But who trusts this guy? Like, just if we're talking demeanor, let's compare him to Meloni, Georgia. Let's compare Omar Algebra to Georgia Meloni. Who trusts this guy? Who? First of all, you have what? You have how much do you have to say, Omar, that you can't say without reading notes? I don't have notes because I know what I'm going to say because it's the truth. It's not a scripted lie. You can't even muster together this statement without looking at your notes. That's how sincere, authentic, and truthful it is.
On air and rail, or wear masks on planes and trains.
Can we have the data that ever showed that wearing masks on planes and trains ever worked or was ever necessary in the first place? I think we have the data that it wasn't. I think a lot of it was exposed in that charter lawsuit, as exposed through the various depositions conducted by Keith Wilson et al. In the honorable, or the honorific, someone said, Brian Peckford's charter challenge. They never had the data to begin with, but they always said it was temporary, and the data's changed.
For international flights to Canada, airlines will no longer need to review the vaccination status of foreign nationals, confirm travelers have submitted the required information in ArriveCAN, or ensure compliance with the pre-entry testing requirements.
You no longer have to show compliance, people. Masks still recommended. Okay, look, we're just going here. Public safety, Marco Mendicino. Oh, demonstrable liar. Remind me about this. Let me just go. Demonstrable liar. Let's just go. I'm going to pull up the video. Marco Mendicino. Demonstrable, proven liar. When defending invoking the Emergencies Act, said that there was a risk of a certain type of assault of a sexual nature on people in Ottawa. The truckers were threatening to. It rhymes with grape. Marco Mendicino said that. Marco Mendicino said that the RCMP had asked for the Emergencies Act to be declared when in reality they hadn't, and it caught them by surprise. And from what I understand, they said they were more than capable of dealing with the protest without invoking the Emergencies Act. Marco Mendicino is a liar, a proven, demonstrable liar. Let's hear what he has to say now. Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino said the ArriveCan app can still be used by travelers to submit customs declarations in advance at major airports. Oh, that's nice. The option is available at the International Airport in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, but there are plans to extend to airports in Calgary, blah, blah, blah. The government also said the Canada Border Service Agency is looking at adding features to ArriveCan, like border wait sign. Oh, don't worry, people. Something good is going to have come out of your egregious, rampant constitutional violations at the hands of Supreme Leader Justin Trudeau. Let me see if I can find this. Let's see. Is this it? Please, please, please. Let's see it. Here we go. This is it. Got it.
Understand how you could be saying on one hand there's
This was one of the mistakes I made in life, people. At least on YouTube. This is Raquel Doncho. I thought she was being serious and didn't appreciate that this is stone cold, in your face sarcasm. She's asking a highly rhetorical question in a manner that, even for the sharpest of people, can be misconstrued as a serious, non-rhetorical question. Listen to this. Asking Mendicino about invoking the Emergencies Act.
like, I just don't understand how you could be saying on one hand, there's all these strong ties and this is a national emergency for public safety. And I walked every day by these protests. It just doesn't really add up at all.
Minister, sorry, just 10 seconds, Minister.
Well, I would say first, it's not an insinuation. We got the advice from our law enforcement that we met
Lie.
the threshold. And
I
secondly,
just
Ms.
can't believe you
Dancho,
put us in danger in that way,
respectfully,
to be
Ms.
honest.
Dancho,
Like,
there
that
were Ottawans who were
seems
subjected
very
to
irresponsible to
intimidation,
me.
harassment, threats of rape. I mean, and those were all supported by
So how could we have
charges.
possibly been allowed
and-
to walk
and
by
rape.
that every
Sorry.
day? Like, I just don't understand how you could be saying on one hand, there's all these
The man is a proven liar. And thank goodness I have the receipts. Okay. I used ArriveCan. I'm not going to make fun of you, Dave North. This is not to make fun of you. I used ArriveCan last month. Wasn't that bad. Plus, it wasn't infringing on my rights because I'm British. Okay, fine. Touche. But I'll tell you one thing. Let me pull this up. I'll tell you one thing. It sure as hell violated my rights. And it sure as hell made me feel very, very uncomfortable. Here, check this out, guys. Let's do this here. Listen to this. Let's go with English.
And before we proceed, I need to inform you this call is being monitored for training and quality purposes.
This is my experience with the ArriveCan app.
Today I'll be asking a few questions about.
And after this, we're moving to Rumble.
To verify that she's in compliance with obligation, include a day 1 and a day 8 COVID test. This call should just take a few minutes.
Oh, okay. This is me at my angriest.
In Canada on Tuesday.
I confirm that yes, we arrived in Canada Tuesday.
Okay, and a record indicated that she is an unvaccinated traveler entering Canada.
Yeah.
Unvaccinated traveler entering Canada who do not meet the Canadian definition of fully vaccinated are required to be in quarantine for a minimum of 14 days. Is she under quarantine?
Oh, really? That's the address we they're required to be in quarantine.
Excuse me. In virtue of what is she supposed to be in quarantine for 14 days?
Yes,
No, in virtue of what?
because she's an
No,
unvaccinated
but
traveler
what
entering
that's not my understanding of the law.
What do you mean it's not your understanding of
What
the law?
What provision of law are you suggesting requires my daughter to be in 14 days of quarantine?
She's under the Federal Quarantine Act.
Under the
But
federal
what provision of
quarantine
law
act.
is it? Because I know,
Sir.
I know
Sir.
I've read the Quarantine Act. I've studied the Quarantine Act.
Okay.
What provision of law? Because she tested negative. We've had COVID within the last 180 days.
I understand that. So she's not required to be tested again. But since she's not a fully vaccinated traveler entering Canada, she's required to be in quarantine for.
Under what provision of law?
Sir, the international, sir, it's the Quarantine Act. That's it.
No, it's not, by the way. It's
No,
the
but
Order in Council.
I'm telling you, I've read the Quarantine Act. There is nothing in it that.
I understand. Sir, if you go on canada.ca.
That's a website.
19 coronavirus, you will see unvaccinated traveler entering Canada are required to be in quarantine for 14 days.
I just have to point this out, by the way. The reflection, I never noticed this until now. That's my shirt that says politics ruins everything in reverse reflection on the window. But okay, and then we'll be done.
I'm not sure that I don't believe that's the law.
Yes, she is. She's required to be in quarantine. She is. Yep. She's 12 years old.
Yep,
so
12 years. Lock her up. It's not child abuse.
Yeah.
She's not under 12, so she's required to be in quarantine, sir.
Okay, I don't know that that's the law. In fact, I'm a lawyer, and I'm fairly certain that's not the law.
Sir, if you go, I said.
I'll go look. I'll go look and thank you. Okay, thank you for the call. Thank you for the call. I'll go look.
Okay.
And by the way, just to point out something here, I recorded that that's an old video recorded in Canada because people should appreciate before you do secret recordings. Although that stated that they were recording it as well. Some states, such as Florida, are two-party consent states. So you can't actually record a conversation without. Oh, geez, my computer's going to go down. Hold on. Damn kids, pull the plug out. Whew. In some states, such as Florida, two-party consent states, you cannot record a conversation without notifying the other person that you're recording or getting the consent of all parties. That was in Canada. Canada is not a two-party consent state. But yeah, that was it, sir. And I appreciate she's just doing her job. And I've had discussions with some of these agents who are shocked and shocked by and don't support these policies. But that was my experience. Yeah. You won't have to do it anymore, people. 12-year-old kids don't need to go into 2 weeks of quarantine. Healthy 12-year-old kids. You no longer need to abuse your children, Canadians. Don't worry. And it wasn't abuse because the government told you to do it. Okay, let me go into StreamYard. And we're going to end this. The link to Rumble, people, is right here. Mosey on over to the Rumbles. It's a good place. I know people have some constructive criticism. We're gonna fix it. I am your direct source to the company to make recommendations as to what people want improvements on. But for the time being, I'm not ending the broadcast. I'm just removing YouTube, and we're going over to locals. Not locals, although you could do that as well. VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com. We're going to Rumble. Remove.